Dan Abnett does characters. That's what Dan Abnett does. He does characters. All right. I'm not going to say whether or not he does characters well or poorly. He just does characters. And it's I don't know. It's interesting in a way because every single character is the protagonist, kind of like in real life. I mean, if you're not, I don't know. There are definitely some people that have lost hope, but I think most people think that they're the protagonist in their own story. And it's. I mean, I had my professor. He talks about Dungeons and Dragons, and he can trace his lineage back for each of the characters like 15 generations. They keep begetting, whatever. They keep doing that. They pass their lineage on and on and on. So that's kind of the same vibe that I get from Dan Abnett. That like every character has a motivation. That's really great. It's really. I mean, that's what you want, but sometimes it hurts with the focus. When you have 7 to 8 different protagonists, each vying against each other, it becomes kind of a rat race, but it's a style. That's a style, right? You can kind of just get lost almost, but it's different. I've been reading these Russian novels, August 1914, about World War One. There's just so many characters. There's dozens of characters to keep up with. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad because you can associate each character with their motivation, what they want to do. Is it a good old boy? Is it the guy going against the seam? Is it is it a new plucky trooper? He does this pretty well. One day I will get to the Gaunt's Ghost novels. There's a lot of incredibleness there, but sometimes it just feels like filler because there's just so much of the characters. So getting to the book that I'm talking about right now, Ravenor is pretty good. Overall it's pretty good. I don't mess with Eisenhorn just because there's like almost this pretentious air about it. I mean, Eisenhorn is an Inquisitor, so is Ravenor. Ravenor is Eisenhorn's pupil. The cool thing about Ravenor is he's an invalid. He lives in an armored sarcophagus on life support. He's like in this floating egg. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool to have a main character that has almost no physical sense of agency whatsoever. So I like it a lot. It's an interesting take. He's basically on a hover wheelchair. So as far as Inquisitors go, every single Inquisitor, I think, should have some huge underpinning aspect to them, undermining aspect to them, something that's just absolutely a weakness. It's what separates them from being just regular protagonists in any other story, and that's Ravenor's weakness. Is he's dying. I haven't read this in over a decade, so I'm definitely gonna have to go through this stuff again. He spends all this time talking about the Mournival, that Dan Abnett does. The Mournival! And it was like, it was almost too much. I mean, it was cool that they're like trapeze artists and this and that. That was kind of fun. And, of course, the trapeze artists are agents of chaos. So he puts a show on in front of you without you actually expecting it to have a huge relevancy in the story. And lo and behold, it does. My favorite thing about this, the Ravenor book, is they went to this planet to investigate this phenomena or whatever. So, something bad was happening, and it turns out that somebody is distributing shards of stained glass that have, yes, first been stained by, whoever made them, but then stained by the atmosphere of a planet submerged in the warp. So these people, they're just like looking at them. They call them Gladstones, and they're just like getting high off of seeing that version of hell. That pretty cool, pretty interesting stuff right here. It also shows like how easy it is to be corrupted. Like, because by the end of the book, even though they killed the Gladstone distributor and stopped the ring, one of Ravenor's crew got an addiction to Gladstones, which is great. You don't get to touch drugs without that chance of being addicted. It's so very, very multifaceted characters. You're looking in these books less for action and more for character development, and he delivers. He delivers. I remember that at some point in the book, he talks about like a gun that looks like an uppercase T. And that's a visual that stuck with me. Something very simple, very, very clever though. Dan Abnett he's a very clever man, and maybe 10 years ago I wasn't as clever as I am now. So I hope that I have the gumption to go back and read it, though that seems unlikely because I'm cashing in on this video right now. And then you got Ravenor Returned, okay? So Eisenhorn, he had like 3 different books: Xenos, Hereticus, and Malleus. And trilogies are great. Trilogies are great. Quadrilogies just seem weird. Quintologies just seem bizarre. So I can only imagine he goes through each of the different schools of the Inquisition, or the disciplines of the Inquisition, to find an enemy there and get rid of them. I used to really struggle with the difference between the Ordo Malleus and the Ordo Hereticus because, one bleeds in the other. But essentially, the Malleus, they deal with the great enemy, and the Ordo Hereticus, they deal with internal issues. So there's a meaningful distinction there. Don't get me wrong. I just think they're much more related than the Ordo Xenos. I'm really upset because I don't have my copy of Ravenor Returned. I don't know what happened to it. But I mean, there's just so much that happens in this book. I mean, it's almost like those really bad movies from the 2000s, those espionage movies from the 2000s, where and most Call of Duty games were like, oh well, now we're gonna go here, and oh yeah, we're gonna go here, and but it all comes together in this one. Ravenor Returned is a fantastic novel. I searched for it, and I have a high dose of anxiety because I can't find it right now. Probably gonna order it, even though I might not read it again. So. And this is how you do a strong female protagonist, all right? Strong female protagonists are not strong male protagonists with vaginas. Absolutely not, okay? You're rendering them into this level of arbitrariness that doesn't matter. Okay, look, I'm playing Shadow of Mordor right now, and there's this like lieutenant chick, and she fought a half a dozen orcs in front of me, and they sliced her and they hit her a couple times. I'm sorry, but like, you're just gonna die. Like if you're not look, if you don't have a huge amount of muscle mass, they're just gonna whack you and they're gonna eat your bone marrow. Just straight up, okay? Do not make these female characters that fit the role of male characters. It's so bad and unbelievable, and it only feeds in to these people out there that want to see it but don't even care about your product. Yeah, they want to see it. It's like that fucking Avengers Infinity War, or is it, I don't know, whatever, when they have all the female superheroes fighting the bad guy. It's just a 5-minute montage of them being female and kicking CGI ass. Woo! Woo! Okay, look. A strong female protagonist in Ravenor Return. Wish I could find the book because it's really it's one of the best experiences I've had ever. Okay, there's this. You know what? I might even read this book just to bitch about it. There's this book called Blind, and it's a Warhammer mystery novel about Warhammer murder mystery, and there's such little fighting. I hopefully I still have it. I might go through it now that I'm older. I could probably find some meaning there. Um, yeah, strong female protagonist, sure. But in this novel, all right, the protagonist, she's a female. She's an orphan, right? And so she goes to the spy school, the school for spies. It's it's got some Hogwarts vibes to it, pretty honestly. But instead of magic, they have technology and lies and stuff like that. And she gets these petty little assignments, much like Arya Stark, where just go observe this guy. I want you to just go observe them, things like that. And of course, just like Arya Stark, she gets it twisted. It was great. It was great. So the whole thing is they're spying to help save the Imperium. Okay, they're Imperial spies. She's an Imperial spy school. So Ravenor comes on board. Eisenhorn comes on board. They're both simultaneously trying to unfuck this world that she's on, and it's so fun. It's so fun to read about Eisenhorn trying to fix things, his take on it, and then Ravenor's take on it, because they're completely at odds. Ravenor, I think, is a radical, where Eisenhorn is old school, but in this context, he is a radical. It's so much fun because it's two inquisitors like having a cockfight, but in the middle of it is the strong female protagonist, and so she's a spy, right? It turns out that she was actually a spy for Chaos. She was never an agent of the Imperium. She was an agent of Chaos. And so she has to choose. Do I try to defect to the Imperium where they will burn my soul? Or do I stick with my professors and my instructors and my peers? Where does your loyalty lie? Where does the loyalty lie there? The people you grew up with or the people you were trained to believe in? And it's an incredible struggle. It's an emotional upheaval, the likes of which I have seldom come across. And so Ravenor Return, just go ahead and read it. Just go ahead and read Ravenor Return. It's such a good book. It's such a good book because there's like three very major characters pulling in separate ways. I love it. It's a question to this day that I cannot answer with certainty.